Hello everyone, my name is Natalia Leigh and I am the author of the young adult novels Highborn and Way of Spears. In today's video, we're going to be discussing Camp NaNoWriMo, how my novel is going, and then I'll be answering some viewer questions. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, I wanted to answer a couple questions that I received on Twitter. The first is, I'm getting frustrated because I am telling more than showing. Do you have any tips? Yes, I definitely have tips when it comes to showing more than telling. Let me give you an example. How do you think I'm feeling if I do this? And how do you think I'm feeling if I do this? I was able to communicate emotions to you without saying a word because you saw it and you know what those expressions mean. So, when it comes to showing more than telling in my novels, I try to communicate through visual signals. Instead of your character seeing another one and saying, "Oh, he looks so angry," that's telling us how he looks. Show us instead. Say, "I saw him and he was wearing a scowl and his fists were clenched." And while that might sound a little bit cliche in this example, I just want to communicate how important it is to use visual signals for your readers. Again, you don't know I'm happy because I stare at you blank-faced and say, "I'm feeling happy." You know I'm happy because I'm smiling, my eyes are bright, my head is up. I also don't stare at you blank-faced and say, "I'm sad." I might be looking down, frowning, my eyes might be sloping, my shoulders might be drooping down. So give us these visual signals instead of just telling the reader what you want them to think. Allow them to come to their own conclusions. When I first started writing, that was one of my biggest problems. What I always wanted to do was guide the reader down a very specific path, and I kind of manhandled them into it by telling them everything, telling them what they should feel, telling them what they should see, instead of just letting them come to the conclusion on their own. So just try to use more adjectives, try to up the description of your scenes versus just giving us factual evidence about the characters, the setting, the description, etc. Also, remember that unless you're writing in third-person omniscient, your main viewpoint character won't know what's going on in anybody else's head. Unless they're a mind reader, but that is a completely different video. So while your character can kind of guess what's going on in somebody else's head or what somebody else is thinking, they can never really know, and that's why they need those visual signals to try to figure it out. Alright, the second question from Twitter is, I'm writing the sequel to my book currently and find myself lost for motivation even though I have an outline. Any tips to overcome this? My first tip is to go back to the initial idea and try to think about what got you excited about this story in the first place. You need to solve for X. And if you don't know what I mean when I say that, then go ahead and look above in the cards and click the link to my Camp NaNoWriMo episode 4 video, because I discussed a seminar that I went to and how the authors presenting taught us how to solve for X with our favorite stories, and that will help you a lot in determining what got you excited about writing this story in the first place. Solving for X lets you break down what you love in your favorite stories, and then helps you utilize those aspects and put them into your own stories. If you're writing a series, I also strongly recommend going back and reading the first book. This has been my struggle when I've been writing sequels to books in the past. I would write the first book and then take a break and then forget why I was so attached to those characters in the first place. So if you're feeling distance from your novel or from your characters, read it again and remember why you fell in love with that story and why you fell in love with those characters, because that will help you feel motivated and excited moving into the next book. My third tip for this is looking over your outline and asking yourself, am I bored by this? Because if you haven't even started writing and you're already bored by the idea of writing this novel, then it's not going to go well for you. So solve for X, go back to your outline and figure out how you can tweak it and change it and make it more exciting for you as the writer. Because if you, as the writer, are not excited to write it, then we as readers aren't going to be excited to read it either. You have to be having fun while writing it if you want us to have fun while we're reading it. Okay, now that I have discussed some reader questions, I want to just chat with you about what I'm doing with my novel so far. In my Camp NaNoWriMo episode 4 video, I told you that because I had so many new ideas for my novel, I needed to go back and work on the beginning and work on developing the foundation of the story before I could move forward. And this has been a really good idea so far. So I have, let me open it up here. I have been writing an entire summary of the entire novel. And this is different than anything I've ever done before, but so far I'm loving it. What I typically do is I use an outline, and you can actually find my free outline in my Scrivener tutorial video, which I will link up above if you're interested in that. I typically use that outline to get a feel for kind of the beats and the structure of the novel, but I'm realizing now that that's not quite enough for me because I need so much detail going into a novel so that I can write it truthfully and fully and without abandoning any characters or plot threads or what have you. So what I'm doing right now is writing out an entire summary of the entire novel. And it has certainly been taking longer than I thought it would, but that is completely okay because I want to take this time to spend as much time and effort on writing this summary so that when I'm ready to write again, in however long it takes me, I know exactly where I'm going, I know why I'm going in that direction, I know what I'm gonna find when I get there, I know how to complete all the character arcs. I have it all figured out instead of just saying, I know how to get way over there, but I'm just gonna wing it until I get there. That does not work for me, is what I have now realized. So right now, my summary / overview, which is what I have it titled in my Scrivener document, is 4,349 words long. And it's only about, I don't know, I want to say I'm about halfway done. So I'm guessing that this will end up being about 10,000 words in length. I'm finding it really easy to write though. When I was working on the draft, I would struggle and pause and maybe only write a few hundred words on a bad day. But I can sit down with this summary and write 2,000 to 3,000 words in an hour if I'm working and have a lot of focus because I'm so excited about it. I know where I'm going and there's no fear of messing up because the other thing I'm going to do once I finish this entire summary / overview is I'm going to print it out and I am going to edit it. So I'm going to have the tiny book version of 10,000 words. I'm going to edit it, clean it up, make sure I know all the beats, make sure I know everything that needs to happen. And then once that's edited and really, really clean, I will go back to the draft and start writing again. I don't know how long this will take. I've only been spending, I don't know, I think I've spent like 2 or 3 days writing this overview so far, and I'm almost halfway done with it. So if I could have it done by like next week, mid next week, that would be awesome. And then I can print it out and start editing it and hopefully start writing again before April is up. And if not, then I'll be writing again come May because I don't want to rush myself this time around. That has been a downfall of mine, is always rushing. And the reason I rush is because I'm so excited about the final product. I love cover design and I love holding the book in my hands. So I have this tendency to rush through the first draft so I can just put it on CreateSpace and order a proof copy and just hold it. Getting my book in the mail is the most exciting part of the process for me because all the hours and hours and hours that I put into it finally pays off and I get to see it in my hand. I get to hold it, and that is what I'm always looking forward to, but it's my downfall because then I rush through the draft and I leave a bunch of plot threads unfinished and characters kind of hanging out in the middle of nowhere, and then I have to fix it all in edits, and then I try to rush edits, and I'm just really taking the time this time around to slow my shit down because I do not want to rush this one. I want this novel to be the best I have written yet and the best that I've put out so that you guys can really, really enjoy it. So next up, I just wanted to get your opinion and kind of start discussing a live stream or a live show. I would like to know if you, as my amazing, wonderful viewers, would prefer a live show where I am streaming while I am writing so that we can write together, chat, have little discussions, you know, something like that. Or if you would prefer to see more of an authortube collaboration so that I can reach out to some other authortubers and see if we can put together a video where we are discussing viewer questions. So 2 options are me live streaming while I'm writing so that we can have kind of a write with me episode live and we can all write together, or an authortube collaboration. So go ahead and just let me know in the comments down below what you would be most interested in seeing. Please give me a big thumbs up for this video if you enjoyed it, and remember to subscribe for more videos about how to write a novel, how to edit a novel, and more. You can go and check out my other Camp NaNoWriMo videos in which I discuss my novel, my writing routine, my writing process, and more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!